into order. We will start with our invocation. Pastor Christian Williams is here to lead us in that. By the way, when you come up, make sure you turn on the microphone, green light, and speak into the microphone, and you may proceed.
Please join me in prayer. Wise and loving Father, I thank you on behalf of all who are gathered here today. Thank you for life. Thank you for our minds, for sustenance and health. We thank you for our families, our friends, and communities. I thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work and for the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities. Thank you for this commission and these men and women who serve on it. I'm asking you tonight that you would graciously grant them wisdom to lead amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times. Give them a sense of the welfare and true needs of our people. Give them a keen thirst for what is just and right. Give them confidence in what is good and fitting. Give them the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement. And please grant them personal peace in their lives and joy in their work. I pray that you would guide them in the agenda set before them today. Please give an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live, work in, and visit our county. In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Nolte? Here. Commissioner Withington?
Here.
Commissioner Lawson? Here. Commissioner Wagner? Here. Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Thompson?
Here.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Next on our agenda is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion? Commissioner Johnson.
Move to approve tonight's agenda.
Motion has been made for the approval of this evening's agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner? Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson? Yes. Motion passes 5-0.
That brings us to public comments. Are there any citizens wishing to comment on any subject that they would like to express their opinions to the commission on? Seeing none. Next is our consent agenda. Administrator.
The consent agenda allows the Commission to act upon items considered to be routine and approved in one motion. These may include items that have been reviewed by the Commission in a prior session. There will be no separate discussion unless a Commissioner requests that an item be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. There are 7 items on the consent agenda this evening. The first item is approval of the Commission meeting minutes from December 19th, January 2nd, and January 9th. Resolution 2025-26 is approving invoice payments for Clay County from the period of January 11th to January 17th. There are 263 invoices totaling $1,025,787.03. Resolution 2025-20, approving Clay County Collector's Report and recommendations of tax sale surplus of certain parcels. Resolution 2025-25, approving road in Ingleview into the county road system and release letter of credit. 2025 Ordinance 02 is reappropriate and revise the adopted budget for the current year for administration of $2,600 LCHAT donation for juveniles placed in the group homes to attend weekly yoga and stress coping classes. Resolution 2024-07, the reappointment of members to the Mid-Continent Library, and Resolution 2025-29, the appointment of a member to the Development Disabilities Resource Board.
Commissioner Johnson.
Move to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Motion has been moved for the passage for the acceptance of the consent agenda this evening. Discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner? Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson? Motion passes 5-0.
That brings us to this evening's regular agenda. First item is 2025-27. Administrator?
Resolution 2025-27 is approving invoice payments for the Clay County Prosecutor's Office for the period of January 11th through January 17th. There are 3 invoices totaling $425.84.
Commissioner Johnson. Oops.
2025-27. Oops.
I'm sorry.
Again.
Yeah. I don't know why this is. There you are. Now you're on it.
Move to approve 2025-27.
Motion's been made for the approval of 2025-27. Discussion. Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
To close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner? Commissioner Thompson?
I recuse myself.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson? Motion passes 4 in favor, 1 recusal.
Next item is 2025-28. Administrator?
Resolution 2025-28 is the approve agreements for new SAN hardware and installation support with Data Edge Solutions. And Director Shaw's here to provide information to the Commission about this project.
Hello, Commissioners. Kevin Shaw, IT Director. This we're bringing in front of you today is our capital item for our SAN upgrade. We originally brought in our SAN back in 2006. It was about $423,000, and then 7 years later, it went to about $114,000 higher, 26% increase. And then in 2019, it was about 22% increase. So when we saw that the 2025 was going to be over a 90% increase, IT went back to find out what some of our peers was doing, and I'm really proud of our team, especially our systems analyst, Seth Zamora, talking with peers in other counties, and found that we were going to move now from Dell Hyperconverged to HP Hyperconverged, and it will come in quite a bit less. We will end up with, what is it, 500 and, I don't have the number here. You guys have the number, 530-something thousand. Any questions?
I think the number was 536,922. Does that
Thank you,
sound
Jerry.
right?
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay. Commissioner Withington. Okay, for some reason. Okay, go ahead.
Hey, is this going to improve our SAN capacity, our storage capacity here?
We will remain the same capacity we have right now. This actually, using HP's technology, uses a little more flash, so it might be a little faster. I don't expect people will really notice a difference.
Okay, and will there be any downtime or anything?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Johnson.
Move to approve 2025-28.
Motion has been made for the approval of 2025-28. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
At close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner? Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson? Motion passes 5-0.
That concludes our regular agenda. The next item on the agenda are reports. We have one. That is the Public Administrator Guardianship Performance Audit, January 2025, and that would be our auditor.
Hello, Victor Hurlbert, Clay County Auditor. Admittedly, I submitted this under written reports. I had not really planned a presentation. The reason for that is, this audit wasn't really requested by the commission. It was something I did independently because it had come to me from some concerns from citizens. So I'm happy to do a little brief synopsis, but I won't get very much into detail. We do also have the public administrator here tonight, Alexa Summit, to answer any questions as well. But yeah, I'll go ahead and just speak briefly to it. And before I do that, I'm going to try and bring up the report if I can. While we wait, as I mentioned, that was really the basis for this. Took some of those concerns pretty seriously, and that was the reason I launched the audit. Another thing that really gave me reason to begin this audit of the public administrator guardianship was there was a report released from the U.S. Department of Justice in the summer of 2024. It essentially said that the state of Missouri has an over-reliance on skilled nursing facilities, particularly for individuals who are placed under guardianship by a court order. And so in Missouri, oftentimes those placed under guardianship, which means they're unable to make decisions for themselves, been able to take care of themselves, that lands with the county public administrator. And it's basically the source of how guardianship more often than not occurs. And so in light of those concerns I had heard, weighed with this U.S. Department of Justice report, I thought it was beneficial for me to go ahead and look into this particular issue. All right, I've got this pulled up here, so we'll see if that works. So this is on the Clay County website as well, under the auditor department's page, if anyone in the public is willing to look at this as well. So essentially what we did is we launched the audit, and we got an understanding of the policies, procedures in place in the public administrator department. It is a full performance audit, and so we made recommendations and got the auditee response to those recommendations. And then we made a sample of wards that are in the care of the public administrator's guardianship, and we tested against the criteria at issue. So we were looking at, under the probate code of the state of Missouri, were they in the least restrictive setting possible? Is one of those criteria we were looking at. We weighted against the US DOJ report as far as were they in their community setting. Part of that Department of Justice report looked into the fact that a lot of these individuals were not in their community setting. And so that can cause a lot of issues as far as what is the best situation to care for these individuals. And so that was essentially the approach of the audit. And so we picked 15 statistically random wards to sample to check against that criteria. Essentially what we found, just kind of make this brief, is that we got from looking at the policies, procedures in place and the sample that it's not the case in the Clay County Public Administrator's Department that there's just an automatic processing of wards to skilled nursing facilities. So I think that alleviates some of the concern outlined in the U.S. Department of Justice investigation in the state of Missouri. And that was really the goal of this audit, is to assure to citizens and to the commission whether or not that's happening in Clay County. And so I think the audit would tell us that that's not the case in Clay County, Missouri. In fact, even of the sample we did, half of them were actually living independently. They were having daily supports here in Clay County, Missouri, and not in some sort of facility, be it a nursing home or otherwise, outside of Clay County. And in fact, it wasn't, for those who were in such facilities, they weren't in necessarily one particular location. The public administrator has over 300 wards in her care. And what we did notice in this sample of 5% or 15 was that none of those wards who were in facilities were actually in Clay County, Missouri. So I thought that was interesting observation to make. And the public administrator was cooperative to even put together on all wards that it comes to roughly half. It was 38% to 48% when you broaden out what is the metro, what is the region, that those wards are, whether or not they're located near Kansas City and Clay County. And so the reasons for that was just availability. So there's just a lack of availability of these types of facilities to care for wards in Clay County in the metro. And that's essentially what it boils down to. We did also notice that there's really no pattern as far as who is referring these individuals to guardianship to go before a court and seek that order, whether it be from the state, nonprofit agency, or even family and relatives. And we also documented looking at what is the average age, how long are these wards with the public administrator. And it is a decent amount of time, but most of these individuals are living with serious developmental disabilities, mental illnesses, things that they'll have for life. And so that's what the public administrator is doing the best to serve them for that time. But in light of all that, we did make some recommendations. We just essentially noticed that there weren't really any written procedures, and that's not necessarily a requirement. When there's a smaller organization, that's something that, when we look at best practices, can be allowed as an exception to not have those written procedures. But we did make the recommendations to put in writing how we can assure to the public when we get these concerns, essentially, that we are taking steps to locate them in the community when possible. Some of the concerns we received was about visiting or being able to contact these wards, and certainly if they're very far out in rural Missouri, that's hard to do. For the Clay County Public Administrator's Department, they are required to at least annually visit them, and of course that adds up a little bit on the county's expense to physically go see them as often as we would like. And so those are the recommendations we made out of the audit, was to basically document that and be able to explain when we receive these concerns what policies we follow, even if we can't get into specifics on the private information for the ward. And the public administrator was agreeable to that. She certainly outlined reasons why there's a lack of facilities in the area. But did basically dedicate to looking to outlining that, because we took into account as well, what is the commission, core values of being good, customer service, and that could be one as it relates to the public administrator department. Really, the only other second finding we had in the audit was we did review, we looked at some of the financials as far as, are these legitimate expenses that have been filed with the conservatorship of estates. But we did also look at some of the annual status reports that have to be filed with the court as part of the audit. We noticed that some of them initially were missing. We did follow-up questions and were provided those. And the public administrator's department, in their own review, due to the audit, noticed that there were some errors for some staff members in those reports. And so they corrected this issue on their own and have set up a new procedure to prevent that from occurring again, essentially just reviewing the reports before they're filed with the court, and also making sure that refile those reports as well. So I think that's going to be something that will prevent that from happening again, and certainly we can look at a follow-up audit in the future, or just check the status on that. Beyond the recommendations, we gave some statistical background. There's roughly 13 to 14 staff in the public administrator's department. And you see they have wards of about 300, and you can see the assets that are in, as conservator for the public administrator. The budget, roughly $1 million a year, less than 1% of the county's budget. Nearly all of it is expended because it's mostly for salaries and payroll. But there are revenue sources that the public administrator can charge for servicing those wards for their time that can be billed to those estates. So I outline all of that. As far as a rating on a scale of 1 to 5, I did award 4. Essentially, the reason for that I tried to describe here was we didn't find overall non-compliance. The reports were filed. A lot of this process is overseen already in the courts. The judge gets the reports and makes the ruling on guardianship to begin with. But we do think there's room for improvement if we were to outline those procedures, be able to convey better to citizens when these concerns come up, of how we're handling that. and be prepared. Again, the whole point of the internal audit is to be prepared in the event we were to have any external audit, and in light of the U.S. Department of Justice investigation, I thought it was something that we would be wise to do. So lastly, we have an appendix, and I wanted kind of a visual of what I mentioned, that observation of half of the sample. None of them were located near Clay County, very far away in rural counties, but still in the state of Missouri. And there wasn't one in Platte County, but certainly I think, and Alexa would know better than myself, Clay County likely has a larger caseload than other county public administrators, so that might be something a little more unique to us than other public administrators across the state of Missouri. I would extend, if Alexa would like to say anything, she's welcome to do so. Otherwise, she's here to answer any questions. Really appreciate the cooperation. I'm happy to answer any questions you have for me.
If there are no questions, thank you very much for the report. That brings us to County Administrator comments.
Thank you. Just a couple. First, I want to let everyone know that while the weather has been somewhat nice the last couple of days, our Road and Bridge group has been out filling potholes, our favorite time of season. And so we've tried to take those that are, substantial and take advantage of the nice weather and use the cold patch. And so certainly if someone has a large pothole and they certainly want to contact the Road and Bridge Department, either our website or give us a call. We'll certainly put it on the list. We're going to do everything we can to try and mitigate those while the weather is nice, and we ask everyone's patience because just as soon as we take care of them, the weather turns, we'll have new ones pop up. But we're trying to tackle that as best we can while the weather seems to be cooperating. And certainly want to say go Chiefs this coming weekend. And the commission's next meeting will be next Thursday evening, January 30th at 6 o'clock here in the hearing room.
Thank you. Commissioner comments? Commissioner Withington? No comments? Okay. Commissioner Thompson? Commissioner Johnson?
Yeah, last Monday, last Monday was a big day. Two big things happened. First, we had our new president inaugurated, and I'm pretty excited to see what's going to happen, the direction the country could be going, and really looking to see some efficiencies, but we'll see how that goes. But the other big thing that happened that day was the college football national championship. And as you guys know, I have two favorite teams, and one of those favorite teams won the college national championship, Ohio State. They beat Notre Dame pretty handily. I know it's Commissioner Withington's team, but really, we thought they were going to forfeit because Notre Dame didn't even show up till the fourth quarter anyway. But nonetheless, Ohio State won that national championship, and very proud of that team. That's all I have.
Commissioner Withington, would you like a rebuttal? All right, I just didn't want to pass you up when your name was invoked. Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. Thank you to our Road and Bridge Department for being out there. It's still cold. Appreciate you being out there. If you do happen to have like a bucket, you can put some asphalt in. There are some potholes on the western side that you won't cover in a couple of our communities that really need it. But I'm sure you're going to need every bit that you have. Otherwise, go Chiefs. Hope we have another successful Sunday. Thank you.
Commissioner Lawson? I will just, I think, reiterate the feeling of everybody, and that is go Chiefs. We've got one more game to put under our belts, and we'll see how that works out. I have very confidence. I look forward to even more success, our trifecta. With that, we are adjourned.